So hi, welcome to Make or Repair. I'm just assembling this little device here, and what this is, it's a device to hold a soldering iron so that you can insert these little brass threaded inserts into plastic. So what you do is you essentially have a soldering iron pointing downwards and some little adapters on the end that go into the end of these threaded inserts, and they push them into a plastic hole, a hole in a piece of plastic, and it kind of just melts around them and holds them in place. So that's how you insert threaded inserts into plastic boxes, essentially. Now in this video I'm going to share my first impressions of a little press that's designed to put those inserts in straight. I picked it up from Amazon while I was ordering some actual inserts, but you can definitely buy this cheaper elsewhere, of course, and you can buy all the different bits separately. But I wanted a dedicated iron, something to help me get the inserts in straight and accurate, and also something that would always be set up and just ready to go when I wanted it. And it's absolutely a very basic slide made of aluminium, and yeah, it should enable me to very squarely insert the threaded inserts. So that's the plan. It comes as a simple kit, so a base, a Z-axis, which is this section up here, an iron holder, an iron and a handle, and a few bits and pieces just to hold it all together, as well as the actual insert tips as well, or a starter for 10 for them. So far my impression is this is all right. It's going together easily. It's very simple. There's nothing to it really. It's just made of this prototyping box section stuff and a pressed metal plate, and it's going together with the screws that they provide. So I'm fairly happy so far, and so far the instructions have been okay. They do provide all the screws, they provide the cheap spanner and some Allen keys to put it together with. So all is there, and so far it seems to be straightforward. So basically it says step 1 is install the Z-axis, which I've literally just done, just 4 screws in the bottom. Great. Step 2 is apparently to attach the iron clamp and things like that, and install the iron. So let's have a look at the soldering iron that they provide. So the soldering iron they provide is apparently ESD safe, which is irrelevant for this purpose. It's 60 watts, 110 to 240 volts, interesting. And yeah, has a bog standard tip, the same type you get on all cheap irons, really. Pop off the old tip, and we get a kit like this. So in this kit there is a soldering iron tip with a threaded end, and then there are lots of adapters which actually go into, let's find a large one. Here's a threaded insert, so it has a little smooth section which is slightly smaller, then the knurled section which is going to grip inside the plastic, and then of course on the inside is a thread, but not engaged with the actual thread. If we look at the outer side of it, then we can see that it's about the same size as the actual knurled section. So it has a step which goes inside the thread, and then it has a width which is about the size of the actual device. So this isn't going to stick to the plastic or anything like that. It's just going to press it in, and then it's going to lift out. This has a smooth section, so our hole into which this is going to go is the size of that slightly smaller smooth section, and then when we heat it up, the knurled section will fit into the plastic and grip when it sets, of course. So in terms of fitting these, we have this little adapter. It goes on the end of the soldering iron, screws up like that, and there's our thread. Now we can attach any size we like, so I'm going to be actually fitting some, I think they're M2.5s. So I want one that will go into an M2.5 insert, which is one of these. This is an M2.5 by 5mm deep. I've also got some that are only 4mm deep, but it just fits nicely, as you can see. I can screw that on. And now that's ready to go. I'm going to need a temperature of, I don't know, depends on the plastic, but I'm going to use a temperature of about 170, 180 degrees, something in that region. So you can just use a normal temperature control soldering iron for this. And here is the iron. Here's the really bad news with the iron, which is the plug. So there is no way in hell that that is remotely legal in the UK. So I'm going to have to cut that off and put a proper plug in. So straight away, a sheathed earth, which is not legal. And then we haven't got the required spacing down here, which is also not legal. And this doesn't take a fuse either. So yeah, not acceptable in the UK. And this is a UK plug. This is a 60 watt iron, by the way, thermally controlled apparently. And we'll see what happens when I plug it in. I might, it has no earth connection through. It says it's ESD safe, but clearly this is a 2-core cable, so it clearly is not ESD safe. So, you know, in terms of the soldering iron, this is a disaster, really. I might actually put a different soldering iron in it, see what I can find. Yeah, might have to print a new insert in order to mount a safer iron in it, because that is bad. So the idea is to install the iron next. Using these inserts. So as far as I can see, these inserts just fit around the iron like that. Slip inside this. And then this bolts from the other side. Okay, so that all goes together. So I reckon I can easily print a new insert for this to replace it with a slightly safer iron. I might not even need to print an insert. So, so this then shows an M5 by 12, which is one of these nuts. And we need to install it to fasten the handle on. So that's straightforward. Pop it through from the inside, fasten the handle on. And the handle can go on the left or the right, so whatever you like. Next up, we have to fasten this onto the frame. And again, it's just a case of a bunch of M5. So down here, there's a little T-nut. And the screw can go into it. So this is basically just a stop for how far down this is allowed to travel. What's interestingly shown then is that I have to take one of these out. This then fits through the spring. And this screws into the back of one of these. So the idea being then that that provides a spring-loaded iron that can be plunged down to a set depth repeatedly and will self-return out of the way of the plastic. So that's quite nice, I quite like it. So next up, we want to just secure this iron cable out of the way so that it can't do anything nasty. Now, they haven't really shown the routing of the wire. What they've done though is shown that there is a clip that you can attach to the back. So I think by that we're supposed to assume that we actually feed our wire through. And hold it in place using a P-clip. To be perfectly honest, I'm not wildly excited by that. I think I'm going to attach mine to the top. Using that same P-clip and the spare nut. And the spare bolt, rather. Okay, and that's all right. That's, I mean, it's not tight. You can pull it backwards and forwards, but it's not going to slip inadvertently. And that's all right. So let's have a look. Other than the soldering iron being terrible, and I might take it apart just to find out how bad it is, it's not bad. I think the other slight problem with it is this soldering iron doesn't seem to be perpendicular. I don't know if you can kind of see that on the thing, but I think the soldering iron is actually at an angle. Yeah, there it is. Yes, it can be angled a bit, which isn't ideal. I'm kind of a bit hesitant to plug this soldering iron in, but I'm going to do so anyway, just to give it a quick try out. And I can't see anything on my soldering iron because I've got it pointing in the wrong direction. That's pretty stupid. I've got no one home. Oh, there we go. So it reckons it's 180C. I don't know if that kind of is visible on the camera or not, but hopefully it is. So I think it's a bit low, but I don't think it's either neither here nor there. Okay, so I guess it's time to give this a test. So I've got my soldering iron here. It's set to 180. I have a piece of it's a plastic knob that I printed at some point in the past that I haven't used, and I've drilled a 3.2mm hole in the top there. So fingers crossed this insert will sit into it. It's not in all the way, it's just the bottom's gone in, and yeah. So now I need to adjust the bottom and the top screw so that this will be close, otherwise it'll be very difficult to line up, and so that this will actually go in deep enough. Now by deep enough, I of course actually mean about there. So I can go too deep, but anyway. So the next problem is, of course, that I have to sort of line this up correctly. I'm trying to do this keeping my hands out of the way. Push that in, and then it should actually just push in. Okay, I think we're in. Withdraw, and I'm going to zoom in a bit. Hopefully you can see that that is job done. It's just a little bit proud. So maybe just a tiny bit more temperature would be sensible. And again, I'll operate this a little bit awkwardly because I just want to keep my hands out of the way. There we go. So there is our insert. It's nicely inserted. It's flush. Yeah, very good. And so I should now hopefully go to run an M2.5 into the end. All is well. Nice. Yeah, happy with that. The soldering iron I am very unhappy with. I mean, I don't think it's a disaster. I'm going to just check a bit of continuity between the metal and the live and neutral just to be on the safe side. It's clearly not ESD safe. That's a complete lie. And clearly the mains plug is completely illegal. There's no doubt there at all. This is not a legal UK plug. So I do need to just cut that off. I'm going to cut that off, put a different plug on, I think, front, and let's just check the continuity just to be sure that we are not live on the tip or something stupid like that. So as far as I can see, this doesn't have an earth connection. No, there's no earthing there. And not even a hint that there's any earth connection there through a resistor or anything either. But let's just double check and make sure that we haven't got anything nasty going on. no connections to anything, so it is insulated. But yeah, definitely not what you want for a plug, that is for certain. But I'm sure there's lots of other irons would fit in the same mechanism. And actually, in terms of usability, this is pretty good. Quite like it. I might, for my normal use, I would of course reach across with my right hand. That gives me good visibility. But if you're left-handed, of course, just change the knob around. Good enough. It's a very simple design, and as such, there's nothing wrong with it. It does insert. It inserts correctly, squarely, easily, so I can't really complain. It does its job. Is it worth the money? Probably not. You could almost certainly make this cheaper yourself if you chose to, with a 3D printer or whatever, and just some of those normal prototyping little rails that take inserted nuts. But yeah, easy. That is an absolute disgrace. As you can see, it's 2-core. And it's red and black, so it's not even got the right color codes. But yeah, it's not legal. Don't use it. It's not legal for a reason, because it's unsafe. So what's my impression overall? Well, I think my first impression is fairly good. It's stable, it's rugged, it comes with simple fixing, it goes together easily. The soldering iron isn't what it claims to be, of course. It says it's ESD safe, 60 watts. It's clearly not. But you know, that's the way of things. The end isn't earthed in any way, shape or form, even through any dissipative resistor. And yeah, I'm not sure what the overall safety of the iron is. In terms of the plug, obviously that's completely illegal. You just need to replace it with one of your own. But you might want to pick up an iron that's a bit more reputable and perhaps reprint some plastic inserts, because if you're using one of these, you're probably doing 3D printing. You can print your own inserts to make a new iron holder for yourself. And I would recommend that's probably the safest thing to do. I'm actually just going to put a new plug on the end and go from there. Still, there we go. I hope you enjoyed that. You know, it is what it is. It does its job. That is for certain. Hope that informs you and gives you something to help you make a decision. Anyway, bye for now.